Ladies, gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome back to Make, Repair, Recycle, where today we will be making this monitor riser to help with sit-stand desk working. For some time now, I've been thinking about adapting my desk for sit-stand working. Now, I could go out and buy an electronic sit-stand desk or even a manually winding up and down sit-stand desk, but the desk I've got is perfectly good and I don't really have a couple of £100 to go and throw at another desk. So looking around online to try and find some alternative solutions left me somewhat lukewarm, principally because you can spend as much money on these as you can on a sit-stand desk, and if you did place one on your desk, it's going to take up a rather large amount of real estate, therefore minimising the amount of space you put all your usual desktop clutter on. So I thought, you know what, I think I can probably do better than this. So after several evenings of head scratching and concept work, I eventually came up with a design I was happy with, and here you can see all the parts laid out ready for assembly. The two parts you can see here are mounted to the back of the monitor. There's a pivot joint between these two parts, and the idea for this is that you can level the screens again once the whole thing's assembled if there's any sag in the arms. They're held together with some N4 screws. Now, I didn't have any nylock nuts on me, so decided to use some thread lock just to hold these two together. They don't need to be done up super tight, just enough to hold the two faces together. With the exception of the 3D printed parts, all of the other materials used in this build have been recycled for things that were destined to go in the bin. Then repeat the process another 3 times, and you've got a complete sub-assembly. Then do the same again to repeat the mounting bracket for the second monitor. Next up, we need to put the Arm Sub Assemblies together. The centrepiece comprises of 2 3D printed parts. They've been designed and printed in 2 separate pieces so they can be printed more easily and avoid all of the unnecessary supports and bridges or rafts you'd need to try to print this in one. These 2 pieces then slide over a 19mm or 3/4 inch aluminium round bar. This should hopefully provide the vertical sliding mechanism to lift both monitors up and down as far as we like. The plastic centrepiece is held together using some rectangular aluminium box section. This is about 35mm by 20mm with a 2.5mm wall, so it's quite chunky and should be robust enough to hold the monitors in place. They should also help clamp the 2 plastic pieces together, and are held together using some M6 screws. The fit up was quite tight on these ones, but even so, I'm still going to put some M6 nylock nuts on the back just to make sure. Then simply repeat the whole process again with arm number 2. Now, if you didn't spot it in the introduction piece, you'll also notice that there's a third arm in the middle of this, and the reason for that I shall demonstrate later. This is also held in place with an M6 screw, and the fit up on this one was extremely tight and needed some powered persuasion to get in place. And even so, I still made sure with an M6 nut on the back of it. The last piece to put on at this stage is the small vertical clamp block. This is a 3D printed part held together with an M6 screw and a wing nut. Now, assuming that the arm sub assembly is free to slide up and down, it's going to need something to stop it from falling down. Whilst it's quite small, it should have enough clamping force to stop the monitors from sliding down the tube, but I guess we'll only find that out once we've put all this together. And there we have it, the main centrepiece fully assembled with the vertical tube. The next part of the assembly is to put the monitor mounts on the end of the arms. This is the relatively simple job of taking the sub-assemblies I made earlier and mounting them on the arms with an M8 bolt and a nylock nut. And then, having got the first one right, I then moved on to the other side. And it's now starting to look like something you might recognise as a monitor stand. The last piece in the assembly puzzle are the plywood ends. These are some recycled pieces of 18mm birch ply, which didn't look this clean and shiny when they started. However, underneath they've actually got quite a nice patina to them, so I'm going to leave these as they are. The ends of the aluminium bar have been drilled and tapped to M8. The plywood mounting brackets have been drilled at M8 as well, and they've also been counterbored on one side and countersunk on the other. This will give something for the aluminium round bar to sit into, and on the other side the bolt head will then sit flush with the timber. A quick spin with the Allen key and that's one end tightened up. Repeat the same process at the other end and I've now got a fully assembled monitorizer. And here is the finished and fully assembled monitorizer in all of its glory. The aluminium round bar is about 1 metre long. Now, having this sat on the desk means that I should be able to get the monitors easily up to eye level when I'm standing, and allow plenty of adjustment for anywhere in between, even down to sitting on desk level. With the central pivot and the pivot joints behind the monitors themselves, there should be plenty of adjustment to get these in just the right position. So this is what my little workspace used to look like. And this is after I've tied it up. You should have seen it 10 minutes ago. The current monitor stand does a good job, but it does take up a lot of space. So let's get all this out of the way. Now there's the space to get this mounted. I'm just going to be screwing this to the wall using some wood screws. Now, this is a slight luxury of having a timber shed come home office, is you can just screw things wherever you like. But I think the concept would work just as well if you had a desk up against a wall in your house. I'm going to start by just putting a couple of screws in top and bottom just to make sure that everything works. And I'll come back and put the other screws in later. On the top bracket, just a quick check to make sure that the aluminium tube is vertical before screwing it to the wall. With everything now securely snugly fit to the wall, I can actually see if this vertical movement's going to work. And lo, it did! It did get a little bit tight in places, but a spray with some silicone lube and it moved just fine. And we're moving into the final jobs now, and we need to get the monitors mounted. So the first thing to do is take the old stands off. Quite a nice design here from Samsung. The two bottom screws come out and it's resting on two tabs at the top, which means the thing doesn't fall off when you take the bottom screws out. To fit them to the new stand, it just needs 4 M4 screws. No need to do these up super tight, just tight enough to stop them from moving around. Having repeated the process with the other monitor, you can then see how easy it is to move this thing up and down. Each monitor weighs about 3.5 kilos, so there's in total maybe 7.5 hanging off the bar, and actually move pretty easily. With the monitors moved up so they're roughly at my eye level, there's still a little bit of scope to go up as well, so there's plenty of scope, should I ever grow a couple more inches. So the last job was to move them back down to desk level, plug all the computer work back in, and actually try using the thing, and I have to say it's worked out really well. So now I can get the monitors up high enough, The next little project is to make an adaptation to the desk to give me a nice working area and something that I can put away when I'm sitting down. So I think that may well be the next project on the channel. And as an added bonus, it's actually freed up quite a bit of real estate on this desk, so I've got plenty more room to leave tut laying around. As always, if you like this kind of thing, please feel free to comment, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.